Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Voice of Bodybuilding. I'm your host, Bob Ciccarello. And first, before we get into anything, thank you. The response that we got from the last VOB was overwhelming. The amount of comments that you guys made, the questions, and we're going to try to get to some of those today. I try to get to as many as you can with personal responses. So when you see Voice of Bodybuilding, that's me that you're actually talking to. There isn't somebody else who does that. So keep the questions coming. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The subscriptions went crazy over the last 2 days. So again, thank you very much. I hope what I bring to you is enjoyed, and we're going to keep bringing more and more to you. Once again, this is presented by Redcon One and powered by Panada, some of the best equipment in the world. We're going to have features on both our top sponsors in the very near future. So hang on to your hats. Wait till you see all the inside and behind the scenes that go into both these great companies. All right, so first I got to apologize for the voice. Hopefully it sounds okay to you. To me, it's a little rocky-ish. I feel like Lincoln Hawk doing a scene out of Over the Top. The truck. I just want to do this for the truck. It's all nasal, man. It is pollen season here in Georgia. Not being a native, something I didn't have to really deal with before last year, but I don't exactly blend here in Georgia, being a New Yorker. I get the distinct feeling that they think I'm here on witness protection. I'm not saying that's true or not true, by the way. But we are going to delve into today the best and most frequent question that I've had in the last couple of days since our last broadcast was, how do I assess a physique? A lot of people appreciate it for me trying to explain it, and I just kind of touched on it. But I thought to myself, what a great opportunity to teach the fans how to really properly assess a physique, and therefore how the judges do it. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this in 30 minutes or less. So let's hopefully you get that cardio going. If you need more, watch it again. So how to assess a physique 101. First and foremost, you have to remove any and all bias. Okay, that's what the judges are doing. They are assessing physiques. Now, everybody's got a bias to some degree. If you're a Cowboys fan, you don't like the Eagles. If you're a fan of the Buccaneers, you don't like the Saints, and so on and so forth. So, but the judges have to look at just physiques up there. They can't get caught up. They're fans of the sport in general, but they're not fans in particular of each person like you are, the fans. So I understand when somebody comes out, and you can see if you look down the comments in our last VOB, that people are very passionate about the guys. Nick Walker should have won. These guys are blind. You don't know what you're looking at. Big Ramy. I heard everybody got screwed. Everybody. The only person not complaining so far is Samson, although I got to give it to the athletes, okay? I have not heard any complaints from Nick Walker, from Big Ramy, or from Andrew Jack, or anybody else for that matter. The athletes get it. It's a competition. The game is there to be played. But they're not complaining. The fans do. So, but you have to know what you're looking at. First and foremost, if you're going to really look objectively and be a fan of competitive bodybuilding, fans see what they want to see. Just like if you watch the Super Bowl, that last play, minute to go, boom, pass interference call. Well, if you're a fan of one team, you thought that was absolutely the right call. If you were a fan of the other team, that was the biggest bullshit in the world that you've ever seen. And games shouldn't be decided on a game ending. That gave them the advantage. Field goal was kicked, game over. Listen, you're going to see what you want to see, but you have to take a look objectively. Number two, no one cares about your journey as a competitor. And I've heard this many times throughout the years. I'll talk to a wife of a guy who's competing in bodybuilding, and she'll say something along the lines of, if they only knew what he had to go through to get ready for this competition, if they only knew the obstacles or what he overcame. The judges don't care. They are there to assess the final product, okay? You don't get to submit your resume of what you had to do, obstacles, hurdles, family business, physical ailments. I was in the hospital, whatever. That doesn't come into play. All they know is what's standing in front of them, and that's all they should know. Okay? So nobody cares about your journey in particular. Good for you. Put it on your IG. Great for your 5,000 closest friends on Facebook. But generally speaking, as a competition goes, It's not about the journey, as the old saying goes. It is about the destination. It's only about the destination when it comes to pro bodybuilding and what goes on stage. Nobody cares. There's no bench press round. Okay. There's no excuse round. There's no training round. There's no scale on stage. None of that comes into play. It's all about assessing a physique at that time, at that place, and on that stage. All right. I wrote an article years ago for Flex Magazine called Vantage Point. And what it was an interpretation of a show that took place from the perspective of like 6 different people. And it was like the girlfriend, the judge, the guy in the front row, the guy sitting in 50th row, guy watching on his cell phone, guy watching on the computer at home. All right, you get the idea. And they were 6 different accounts of the same exact show, like an accident scene, right? They got eyewitnesses at the accident, and they've got 10 different accounts of what went on. Now, there's only one thing that could have gone on factually, but everybody's got their perspective, right? I saw it from the front. I saw it from 2 blocks away. I came in after the accident, but I kind of know what happened. This is the problem when you get into bodybuilding and assessing it, is everybody's got a different vantage point. The only one that matters at the end of the day is the judges. That's why they're 15 to 20 feet in most cases away from the competitors on stage. There's a set line that's done on stage, and photographers usually have a hand in putting the lighting together because we always get, people's varying accounts of the lighting, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. One thing is for sure, it gets tougher and tougher to judge a show and to see detail the further you get back. So that's why, generally speaking, you got to be about 15, 20 feet away. Now, does that make for such a different call from your perspective, from the guy sitting in row 200 or in the balcony? Absolutely. The bigger physiques are going to stand out if you're further away because you start to lose perspective, okay? And perspective is everything in bodybuilding. It's all smoke and mirrors. I think Sean Clarita was a great example of that, standing next to Big Ramy, as not only did he hold his own, but a lot of people had him in front of Big Ramy. The 100-pound difference made no difference when it came to quality, assessment of physique, and we're going to get into all that in just a minute. But it's all smoke and mirrors. It doesn't matter. A lot of you guys have heard my Bobisms over the years, 30 things that I've learned in 30 years, which I'm going to be doing a follow-up to 30 more things I've learned. Hope you guys will enjoy that. And some of those sayings that it doesn't matter what you weigh. It doesn't matter how much you bench. It matters how much you look like you can bench. Okay, that's the sport of bodybuilding. All right, the symmetry round, there's a reason that it's first out of the block. Any pro league show you go to, the symmetry round is number 1. Now, it's there for a reason, okay? It has not been taken out. I know there's been reports over the years. Me and Milos love to debate this all the time. And I love my brother from another mother, but it is still in place. We start the show, again, using the Arnold that just passed. Symmetry round, first. Why is it first? It's first because the first fundamentals that you have to judge is symmetry, proportion, and shape. Balance, okay? All those factors are taken into consideration in this round, okay? You don't need a separate score for it because from the moment you step on stage, you are being assessed. You're being judged. Anybody who has a coach, and a coach that's worth any amount of money in this world or worth their salt, will tell you they are judging you from the moment you step on stage until the moment you get off. Is that accurate? Absolutely. In transition, in between, just because you're standing in the back, don't slouch, don't let the belly out, don't let them see you breathe, right? All that stuff. Does it come into play? Absolutely. It's all assessed. Even if you don't get particular points for it, you're still being judged for it. So, symmetry round. Right off the bat, the guys come out. What are they looking for? Symmetry, proportion, and shape. Now, symmetry. Well, we've gone over this in past episodes. This is symmetrical, perfectly. All right? But it's not bodybuilding symmetrical. In the bodybuilding sense, we're looking for bodybuilding symmetrical. Wide shoulders, small waist, flaring thighs, proportion. Are you proportionate? Does the front of you and the back of you match from top to bottom? Does your upper body overpower your legs? That they're looking for proportion. Okay, this is what I said in the last episode of Nick, where he's a little bit long-waisted and a little bit short-legged. So he's a little bit out of proportion as opposed to Samson, who is very proportional. Jack is very proportional. Now, you can be proportional but not have the greatest shape. Now, Rami has instituted that over the last, 2 or 3 years because he has gotten actually bigger. And bigger in his case is not a good thing, okay? He's 300 pounds, if not more, of muscle. Great, but it's coming at an expense, okay? With Big Rami we got to give him a new nickname. He needs to be not as Big Rami. He needs to go back. If you look at the pictures from the New York Pro some years ago when he won it, to his Olympia victories to now, his physique has changed. Waist has gotten a little wider. Thighs have actually gotten a little bigger. He didn't need that. They make his calves look small. Now, he doesn't have small calves, but his thighs are so freaking big that in proportion, okay, it makes them look too big, which brings him out of proportion. Now, these 3 assessments are done in the same round together for what reason? Because symmetry without proportion and shape is useless. Proportion without symmetry and shape is useless. And shape without symmetry and proportion is useless. They all have to be combined in one and assessed as one. That's why they do quarter turns from the front, from the side, from the rear, and back to the front again. Judges take all this into consideration. Now, we move into round 2, the free posing round. I say that with emphasis for the following reason. Unlike 20 years ago, okay, you basically had to hit the mandatories, okay? That hasn't been done for 20 plus years now. Free posing round. Anybody who's been to a show and you've heard me up there doing my shtick, and I say, okay, we're now moving to the individual presentations. Each gentleman has 1 minute, it's usually more, to present the routine of their choice, okay? This is your golden opportunity to hit any poses you want. You want to hit archer poses. You want to hit non-mandatory poses. You want to hit, praying mantis poses like Arnold back in the day. Sweeping 3/4 back poses. Samson, beautiful mastery of posing at this show, which did help in his victory. This is your opportunity to do whatever you want. Nobody's calling you on it. You don't get dock points. You don't have to hit all the mandatories. If you want to hit 15 most musculars in a row, go for it. If that's what you think presents your physique at its best, I got no problem with that. Big Steve doesn't have any problem with that. The judges don't have any problem with that. This is your opportunity to show your physique how you see best fit. Now, you've been able to show this to the judges. What happens next, okay? Now we bring the guys out, and you're going to have comparisons, okay? Now, this is where the 8 mandatory poses come in. This is the most critical part of the show because bodybuilding, competitive bodybuilding at the IFBB Pro League level is all about comparison. Everybody looks good on their own at that level. Guy comes out, you go, wow, this guy's fantastic. He might win this show. Well, until you see the next 10 guys, right? Then all of a sudden your perspective changes a little bit. It's all about what you look like next to the other guy. That's why direct comparison is everything when it comes to bodybuilding. You merely posing on your own only goes so far, okay? Because you have to see you, if you were competing, up against the other competitors. That's what's going to give us our eventual winner, okay? So now, mandatories. Contrary to popular belief, the mandatory poses, okay, I think it's 9 of them now. Somebody's going to correct me on that, but front double bi, front lat, side chest, side tri, back double bi, back lat, front abdominal pose, most muscular, 8, okay? Now, is the front double bi an arm pose? No. They are assessing your entire physique in the front double bicep position. Front lat spread. Is it just about the lats? No. They are assessing your physique in the front lat spread position. Side chest pose is not about the chest. It's about assessing your physique in the side chest position, okay? You guys get where I'm going with this. They are looking at your entire physique in its entirety with each mandatory pose. Now, it's been brought up, speculated, argued, debated. Do we need more than 8 mandatory poses? The answer is no. That is plenty of poses to figure out who's best, if you even need that many. It's very apparent to most people. If you got an eye for bodybuilding, it's very apparent who the top 2 or 3 are going to be the second they walk out. You can see it a mile away. You can see the shape, the proportion, the symmetry, the overall conditioning. We're going to get into that next because that's crucial to my argument. mandatory poses all next to each other at the same time, you can't get a better assessment. That's when the judges start moving people around. Generally speaking, yes, it's better to be in the middle because they tend to judge from the inside out. If you keep getting put on the outside and eventually you're behind the curtain, not so good. All right, but you kind of want to be in the middle. It does give you an assessment. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the winner, and a lot of times they'll bring out an even number of people. You got 4 people up there. There is no middle. Okay, they could be looking at 2 or 3 guys. There were some people that speculated at the Olympia that when Rami come out, they threw him on the end because he was winning, which amazed me because I'm thinking, no, he's battling for 6th right now. Generally speaking, at a show of that caliber, they are not putting somebody off to the side because he's so great. What they will do is they will give consideration. Phil Heath years ago, don't remember the year, I want to say 012, which is one of his best looks ever. He literally did 1 round of poses and boom, thank you. That's all they needed. It was kind of more of a courtesy thing. But, he literally just walloped everybody on stage. It was a done deal. Okay. Level of muscularity in the pros. You have to be at a certain level of muscularity. This is the problem. Problem only in that, again, if you take solely the symmetry round, right, as we said, you can be perfectly symmetrical but not big enough in a bodybuilding sense. That doesn't help anybody. But can you imagine what the scoring would be if these were all separated pieces? And the most symmetrical guy didn't look like a great bodybuilder. He was just very symmetrical. Symmetrical, by the way, for those who don't know or haven't looked it up, is left to right. Left to right, okay? That's symmetry, okay? Now, in a bodybuilding sense, it's a little bit different, as we explained. But that guy might be 10th best bodybuilder on that stage, okay? If he were to get first place points, it changes the entire game. Muscularity round, okay? The mandatory round. That's where the game is played, really. Individual posing, we've gone over that ad nauseum, and the why it doesn't actually work. You can't judge people on individual posing routines. The counter argument is, we're not judging the routine per se, we're judging the physique in transition while they pose, presenting their physique. Well, one, you already got that opportunity in the pre-judging. You already got it. Free posing routine, remember? It's already there. Now, it's not to your music per se, but the argument was we're not judging that anyways. Great. Okay. Who's a better rapper? Eminem or Kanye West? I don't know. It's a personal preference. Well, that's what bodybuilding is. That's why we're not a pure sport. We're an art in a sport. As was smartly when they put it out, when Pumping Iron came out, you can see right there, everybody, it says the art and sport. It's a hybrid. We are a hybrid sport, if you want to call it that. Okay? It's a little bit of both because we don't have any elements of athleticism here. You can't get points for just putting your arms up in the air. Front double by up, there's 10 points. Well, that's no effort. This isn't doing a handstand. This isn't ice skating or gymnastics where you actually have a triple, toe that you've got to perform. And then you get style points and things. It doesn't work like that. It's all based on opinion at the end of the day. But yes, there is criteria. That's what we're going through now. Not all rounds are equal. Conditioning, I just brought up a few minutes ago. It's crucial, but it can't be at the expense of the physique. Why did Samson win the Arnold over Nick and over Jack and over everybody else? Because he had the best of all worlds. Shape, symmetry, proportion, size, conditioning, presentation. Had it all. Was he the absolute best at every one of them? No, actually. I mean, you can make a case for some of the other guys. Personally, I would have given Big Ramy the most muscular award over Nick because he's 300 pounds of muscle. Now, it wasn't put together very well, which is why he placed where he did. For that, I could have given the best posing award to Samson, but he had $300,000 coming to him. So I really don't have any issue with giving it to Andrew Jack, who actually did a very good job. And by the same token, spread the wealth a little bit. I'm not saying it doesn't have to have some merit involved, but he did a great posing routine also, and the big splits at the end. So you got to give him that 10 grand in his pocket. Posing routines are not judged. We talked about that. Everything is judged at all times. The entire physique, in transition, in between poses, against the other guy, from the time you get on to the time you get off. It's all being judged. Where the points come in, okay? And this is the part I think that confuses a lot of people. as I mentioned on the last VOB, Nick Trigili had it wrong right from the get-go. Now, I will correct myself because I was unsure. There was 11 judges at the Arnold, which I didn't actually say specifically. I said there was more than 7, okay? At the big shows, there's usually 11 or 13. There was 11 judges at the Arnold, but they didn't drop to 2 high and 2 low. They dropped 3 high and 3 low, okay? The reason they do that is to protect the integrity of the judging process for all those that think there's some conspiracy or this judge doesn't like that guy or whatever. If you're going to give him some innocuous placing, everybody's got the guy in first, you got him in 5th. Your score is going to get thrown out, okay? 3 highs and 3 lows. That gives you a consensus of the top 5 scores, a consensus score of the entire judging panel, okay? It ensures integrity. It gives us a fair process. But you got to be able to do the math. That's where they come up with the final placings, okay? We use a placement system, not points. They used to do points years ago, and they got rid of it. And you know why they got rid of it? Because it was terrible. It was put in place because Ben Weider at the time, God bless him, was trying to get bodybuilding into the Olympics, and they want a certain set of criteria. They want a point system. They want it very matter of fact, like all the other sports. Like I said, can't do that with bodybuilding. We don't have required elements. So it was never going to work. I applaud his work on behalf of the athletes, on behalf of the federation. But you can go all the way back. Now, what I'm holding up in my hand is the very first copy of Flex magazine. Look at that, folks. Pristine Chris Dickerson, the late great. All right. Flex magazine, April 1983. This changed the bodybuilding world as we know it with a fantastic magazine. But there's a whole article in here, which we'll put up after, called The Placement System. You can see it right up here. Okay, and I'll hold that up, but we'll put it up so you guys can actually read it. It's not very long, but basically what it says is the IFBB has done away with the points and gone back to the placement system. What's the placement system? That means if I think you're in first place, I give you a 1. If you're in second place, you get a 2. Third place, you get a 3, and so on and so on and so on. So even though it's a point system, it's actually a placement system of points, okay? This is what the judges are doing. It's purely an assessment of all the factors we just talked about, wrapped up into one, and that's how you get your placing, okay? Then they take out the highs and the lows. So I hope this explains to some people why the results were why they were. For the record, I don't like 2-day shows. Andrew Jack, and I've talked to a few people, I'm not going to name names, but I had Andrew Jack in second. Some of the judges actually had Andrew Jack in second. Contrary, again, to early reports, nobody won unanimously. Sampson was never leading unanimously. That's a fallacy, okay? There was other people that were considered. I'll guarantee you, after prejudging, Nick had some first place votes and possibly Andrew Jack. These 3 were very close. 3 different physiques. Andrew Jack is very tall. He's 6'2". He's put together very well. Needs a little bit of thickness from the side. Sampson pretty much nailed it dead on. He wasn't 100%, but he was damn close, and that's what gave him the edge. Nick Walker, tremendous. If he looked like he did at the Olympia, probably would have won this show. But he lost a little bit of the freak factor, bringing it down a little bit. Probably a mistake and error on his part. Doesn't need this. You're not going to streamline a physique that can't be streamlined, okay? Let's just get that out of the way. It's not going to happen. Nick, go back to being a freak, all right? Now, you can't be too freaky, but the amount of freak factor that he displayed was tremendous. But where he loses, I keep getting a lot of questions and answers coming in, a lot of response on, yeah, but Nick won this pose, and this pose. It doesn't work like that, folks. You might hold your own in certain poses, but he's already behind the 8 ball from the start because he loses to Sampson outright when it comes to shape, symmetry, and proportion. Remember, I just told you, they're assessing your entire physique at once. Your entire physique, okay? So you can't really be winning particular poses. He might have a great back. A lot of people say, well, Nick from the back was far superior. You've heard me say a million times already. A million times. Shows are not won from the back. And if they are, they can be lost from the front. Then Sampson waxed them all day from the front. Where are you going with this argument? Overall, Sampson had a better physique. That's why he ended up in the winner's circle. Okay? you have to kind of take these guys for what they put out there in front of the judges. And again, it's all about comparison. What do they look like in comparison to each other? So hope this helps out a little bit, folks. If you got questions, and I'm sure you do, I've got answers. We're going to be doing a whole lot more of these. Now, we're not going to beat the Arnold to death. We will be moving on at some point, but there are so many topics to cover. And we'll be bringing them all to you. I've got a whole bunch of observations of the judging, the scoring, things we can change, things I'd like to see in the future, Olympia happenings as we move through the season. We're just starting the season. The Arnold's the first show under our belt. So stay tuned, folks. I hope you like what you're getting so far. I really appreciate everybody tuning in and subscribing in particular. And we're going to continue to do this multiple times a week. I can never guarantee you because I do a lot of traveling, of course, as you all know, as the voice of bodybuilding. So we're going to bring as many episodes as we can to you. Folks, that's going to do it for this week. As always, I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong.